Open this flat whatsoever. As I said, there's about 38 tenants in this flat, and I'd say 38 out 38, you'd have 28 drug dealers in the flats. Every second person in these flats are dealing in drugs.
That someday you just might be found dead in a gutter, dead in a flat, dead in bed.
Yeah, well, there is this.
Does that frighten you?
Yeah, well, I tell you, there is this fear. Like I have overdosed on several occasions, ODs we call it. I've been brought through in hospitals. I've been pumped out. I've been everything, you know.
In the annals of Irish criminal history, few names evoke as much notoriety as Larry Dunne. Born in February 1948 in Dublin's impoverished south inner city, Dunne would go on to become a pivotal figure in Ireland's underworld, forever altering the country's relationship with drugs and organised crime. Larry was one of 10 sons, born to parents who ran a clothing stall in the Francis Street markets. Despite their hard work, the family lived a rough life, marked by poverty and parental neglect. The patriarch, Christy Sr., had already set a troubling precedent, having served time for manslaughter in the 1930s. As the Dunne children grew up, their path seemed almost predestined. Most of the boys, including Larry, found themselves sent to industrial schools across Ireland. These institutions, ostensibly meant to reform troubled youth, were run by religious orders and housed a mix of orphans, truants, and young offenders. Tragically, these schools were often hotbeds of physical and sexual abuse, leaving deep scars on those who passed through their doors. The brutality experienced in these institutions had a profound impact on the Dunne brothers. Henry Dunne, who would later gain infamy as an armed robber, once remarked that after their time in these schools, they just wanted to tear the whole world down. This sentiment would prove prophetic as the brothers embarked on their criminal careers. The late 1960s marked a turning point for the Dunne family. Christy Jr., the eldest brother, initiated the family's foray into serious crime, gradually bringing his siblings into the fold. By the 1970s, Larry and Christy had established a formidable armed robbery operation in Dublin, effectively transforming their family into a criminal enterprise. Larry's criminal acumen became evident early on. During his first armed robbery, he brought along a young burglar named Martin Cahill, who would later become the notorious crime boss known as the General. This mentorship of up-and-coming criminals would become a hallmark of the Dunne operation, earning them the moniker the Dunne Academy. Future criminal heavyweights like George the Penguin Mitchell and John Cunningham all cut their teeth under the Dunne's tutelage. As the decade progressed, the Dunne brothers began to diversify their criminal portfolio. They entered the cannabis trade with Larry, Christy, Shamey, and Henry, forming the core of what would become a powerful drug distribution network. However, it was Larry's next move that would cement his place in Ireland's criminal law. As the 1980s dawned, a new and insidious drug was making its way across Europe: heroin. Global events such as the Iranian Revolution and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan had led to a surge in heroin production, flooding European markets with the highly addictive narcotic. Larry and Shamey Dunne, with their criminal connections in the UK forged during stints in British prisons, saw an opportunity. In the autumn of 1979, following a major cannabis seizure that left them without product, the brothers organised Ireland's first significant heroin shipment. The impact was swift and devastating. Within a month, heroin use had become a serious problem in Dublin's south inner city. In a matter of weeks, it spread to the north side. The speed and ferocity with which heroin took hold led many to refer to it as the plague, a term that would become synonymous with the Dunne-induced epidemic. Larry's operation was as sophisticated as it was ruthless. Believing that women were less likely to be searched at airports, he employed female couriers to transport money and drugs between Ireland and cities like Amsterdam, Paris, and London. His distribution network was extensive and efficient, even involving children as young as 11 in drug deliveries. This hands-off approach to the riskiest aspects of the trade earned Larry the nickname Larry Doesn't Carry. As Dublin's working-class neighbourhoods succumbed to the scourge of heroin, Larry Dunne lived a life of luxury. He flaunted his ill-gotten wealth with expensive cars and lavish properties, seemingly untouchable by the law. However, the authorities were not idle. A secret police unit, nicknamed the Mockies or Mock Junkies, was established to infiltrate and dismantle the Dunne operation, led by Michael O'Sullivan and Noreen O'Sullivan, who would later become Ireland's first female police commissioner. These undercover officers went to great lengths to blend in with the addict population, even shaving their heads and frequenting known drug hotspots. The net began to close around Larry Dunne. On October 19, 1980, he was arrested and charged with possession with intent to supply heroin, cocaine, and cannabis, valued at £60,000, a substantial sum at the time. The police had found 5,000 doses of heroin hidden in a baby's pillow at his Rathfarnham home. Yet even in the face of these charges, Dunne's criminal savvy shone through. Released on bail, he continued to operate his drug empire, amassing even more wealth. In 1982, while awaiting trial, he purchased a luxury mansion in Sandyford for £100,000, equivalent to nearly €1.5 million today, despite being officially unemployed. It took nearly 3 years for the authorities to bring Larry Dunne to trial. In June 1983, during his second court appearance, Dunne pulled off a daring escape. Allowed to leave the courthouse for lunch, he changed clothes in a nearby pub and vanished. The following day, he was found guilty in his absence. For 2 years, Dunne managed to evade capture, reportedly hiding in Crumlin before fleeing to Spain and eventually Portugal. His luck ran out in 1985 when an immigration officer in Portugal suspected his passport was fake and arrested him. Extradited back to Ireland, Dunne began serving a 14-year sentence, of which he would complete 10 years. This marked the end of the Dunne family's reign over Ireland's drug trade. Christy Dunne, too, found himself behind bars on kidnapping charges. However, the Dunne's legacy lived on, as Larry himself famously warned a group of protesters outside the court, "You think we're bad? Wait until you see what's coming next." Indeed, the vacuum left by the Dunne's downfall was quickly filled by a new generation of criminals, including the ambitious and well-spoken Christy Kinahan, who would go on to build an international drug empire. Larry Dunne's post-prison life was marked by continued brushes with the law. In 2001, he was convicted of assaulting undercover police officers during a search, and in 2004, he was found guilty of drug-dealing charges dating back to 1999. In total, Dunne amassed over 40 convictions throughout his life. The final years of Larry Dunne's life were a far cry from his days as Dublin's drug kingpin. Diagnosed with lung cancer in 2019, he lived in Rathfarnham, no longer an active player in the criminal underworld he once dominated. In May 2020, as Dunne battled the advanced stages of cancer, a bizarre and tragic incident occurred. He was found wandering in bloody pajamas and rushed to the hospital with self-inflicted stab wounds. Dunne, still conscious at the time, expressed that he was tired of living and wanted to get out. Despite some speculation about foul play, he died the following morning. Larry Dunne's cremation after a secret ceremony at Mount Jerome marked the end of an era in Irish crime. His life and actions had irrevocably changed the face of Dublin and indeed Ireland, introducing a drug that would devastate communities for generations to come. The legacy of Larry Dunne is a complex one. While he was undoubtedly a criminal who caused immense harm, his story is also one of systemic failure. From the abusive industrial schools that shaped his childhood to the socio-economic conditions that allowed his criminal empire to flourish. Today, Larry Dunne's name serves as a grim reminder of a dark chapter in Irish history, a cautionary tale of the devastating impact one individual can have on an entire nation. That's it for today's video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and post in the comments section and tell me what videos you would like to see next. Thank you